What is up, my dudes? Today I'm going to be fixing the roof on my pop-up behind me. Let me show you what it's doing. This is the ABS plastic that's on top. It's just this thin layer, about an 1/8 inch thick of ABS plastic. Underneath it is, let me show you. It's like this fiberglass or foam hole, kind of, that is the actual roof. So this, even though it has cracks in it, it doesn't cause any leaks because the actual leak-proof portion of the roof is underneath this. So game plan is to pull all this off because we're trying to sell it and no one wants to buy it like this because it looks like it leaks, even though it doesn't. So we're going to pull all that off, and then we're going to fix any portions that need to be fixed underneath, and then we're going to put a roof coating on this to make it look nice and pretty again. But yeah, look, you can see the bubbles and the cracks everywhere. Bubbling here, bubbling here. This is a 1999 Coleman Niagara pop-up camper. So first up, I just popped it up a couple inches. I'm gonna take this seal off all the way around. Just gonna grab it, pull that joker off. Then I'm gonna remove this awning. This is just gonna go in the trash. This thing works good, but the little case that holds it is torn. It's kind of a pain in the butt to deal with. It's not the greatest awning. You don't really use it anyway. So I don't think there's any good way to reattach that. So we're just gonna toss that. But yeah, without further ado, let's get this scraping. Behind these clamp brackets is this backing plate. You can see the corner of it there. This ABS plastic is very well secured to that, so it's not really going to peel off of it, because what it does is it wants to peel that backing plate with it. So cut out the shape of it with a razor blade and leave that piece of ABS intact, and we're going to Bondo over that later. So like this one, you can see where it's starting to crack right there. That's the edge of the plate. You can see how, look, it wants to peel the plate out with it. Okay, there are some really stubborn sections that don't want to come off. So this was fully intact on there. It wasn't separated at all, so that was quite difficult to get off. Struggling with this piece here, but what seems to be working is just taking this putty knife and working it. It's obviously easier with two hands. I'm trying to film right now, but work it in there and pop it up like that. If you look over here, you can see I got like this whole section loose, so it should pop off now, but just keep working that in the whole way down. Be careful not to damage your fiberglass. It's like a foam fiberglass combo. All right, so that's what it's looking like, guys. Now, step number 2 is going to be Bondo. So we're going to go all these spots where the ABS plastic was really stuck on there, like right here, it pulled this whole section out, pulled this whole corner off. We're going to go ahead and Bondo that, reshape it. We're going to blend in this plate that is for this clamp right here. Just any sections that you see that need repair, do it now, because the better you make it look now before you apply this roof coating, the better it's going to look when it's done. So let's see what else. Anything like that right there, we're going to fix that. We're going to Bondo over these. We got a metal bracket on each side. Bondo over those, blend those in. Bondo, blend that in. That kind of stuff right there. Then we will sand it, not the whole thing, just the Bondo. And then we'll be ready to do the coating. So we're gonna go pick up some Bondo tomorrow, and then we'll do that part. All right, so I should note, if you got little sissy hands, then you're gonna wanna wear gloves taking this stuff off, because all those jagged edges are very sharp, and this foam on top has strands of fiberglass in it. So if you got little sissy hands, don't even attempt it without gloves. And I guess if you are someone who has allergens and you're allergic to everything and breathing air makes you sick, then you might want to wear a respirator, because this has fiberglass in it and there's probably mold spores from it leaking. So note to self. All right, so this is the Bondo that we ended up grabbing from O'Reilly's. Never used it before, never used any Bondo before, so this will be a new experience. But basically it comes with its own hardener. Also picked up this little putty scraper, whatever, for mixing the Bondo and for spreading it around, and then one of these sanding blocks for sanding it after it dries. So this stuff, apparently you only have like 6 minutes of work time with it once it's mixed. So I'm gonna mix up about a quarter of what I need, apply it to the pop-up, spread it as far as I can, and then come back and mix up some more, and just keep doing that process since it has such a short working time. And then I'm using the scale to measure how much hardener to add to it based on the instructions. All right, so I did about 100 grams of the filler, so that's easy math. At 3%, I'm gonna do 3 grams of hardener.
That was disgusting for me. Right now.
All right, here goes nothing.
This is going to take a long time.
starting to harden.
What?
Look at this. It's already hardening.
Bye bye.
I guess because it's in the sun? Are you
Yeah,
kidding me? This isn't even usable. All right, so first thing I've learned about the Bondo is keep it out of the sun, because the higher the temperature is, the less work time you have. So keep it out of the sun. Mix it up in the shade. Keep this in the shade. Scoop it. Bring it to the pop-up. Don't leave it here in the sun. Work with it and try and get it on, because this will dry up in literally a minute. It'll harden. So another thing, if you think you need like one of these, get like 10 of them. So I only got one. Gonna keep using it, but another thing, I only mixed in 2% on this second mixture. I didn't do 3% like the first one, because that first one, it hardened like instantaneously. So 3% was a little bit too much. So now I'm doing a 2% mix. Pop your pop-up up like 4 to 6 inches so you can get this cardboard under here. This is a trick I just have been implementing. Then stick the cardboard up flat to it like that, and then you can get a little messier with it, or you can get more product up to it without dripping it all down the side of your pop-up. Trying to do it left-handed so I'm not blocking the camera, so this is pretty difficult, but you need to be able to work it and spread it while it's nice and creamy like this. Once it starts to set up, it's impossible to spread it. Just like that. All right, guys, so there's my Bondo hack job. It was super difficult. You can see where it's smooth. That's when the Bondo was still within its working time. When it starts to do this, it starts developing this skin on it, and it starts to harden, and then it doesn't want to spread or stick. It just kind of rolls up like that. So you got to be quick with it, man. I mean, like, you got like 1 minute to get whatever you mixed up spread around. I mean, look at this corner. That looks terrible. That's because I was just working so fast, just trying to just mix it and just slap it on there before it started hardening up on me. But yeah, I think it'll sand out fine. If not, then we'll just add more Bondo. I got a gallon of it and I only used about half a gallon, so I started getting a little better over here about doing it quickly. So for right there, that looks terrible. But yeah, this stuff sets up really quick. It's like 20 minutes till sanding time, so I'm ready to start sanding. This one came out really clean compared to the rest. This is the last one I did, so that's why it came out the cleanest. All right, let's give this sanding a try. I closed the pop-up because I don't want to get a bunch of sanding dust in there, so obviously there's still a small gap, but closed it for the most part. Let's see what happens. That wasn't a good start.
That will always happen. your turn.
Okay, now that I've done the initial sanding, I'm gonna go through and Bondo some of these low spots again, because now, as you can see, I'm in the shade, so I should have a lot longer working time with the Bondo. So I'm not gonna film it. I'm just gonna mix it up the same as before, smear it in these low spots, smooth it out as best as I can, and let it dry and sand it again. Dang, when you mix it right and you're not in the sun, it's much easier to work with. I'm really happy with that. That's gonna sand out really nicely. So I'm gonna go and touch up a bunch of stuff on here now that I'm not working in direct sunlight. That was a big mistake earlier. All right, that's a wrap on the Bondo and the sanding. Whew, what a mess. My gosh, I look like someone from Whoville. Right, so I just touched up these spots. I'll sand those in the morning. But yeah, that's what it's looking like. I know it started off ugly, but at the end of the day, it came out pretty good. You just keep Bondo sand, low spots until you get it how you want it. Like you saw how terrible this corner was. Now it looks really nice. Don't mind that. There was a crack right there, so I Bondoed it so I can sand that tomorrow. But yeah, that's the goal right there. So the Bondo on these was basically just to blend into these pieces of ABS plastic that we left around the clamps. The Bondo right here was just to kind of blend in that metal plate and rivets that were right there. And I Bondoed some little cracks on the side. This corner could use a little more, probably. That doesn't look too great, but yeah. Probably come out here in the morning, do one last touch up with the Bondo, one last sand, and then we're gonna use some degreaser and some water and scrub this whole thing down, clean it up real good, get it ready for the roof coating. That part will be for in the morning, so we'll check back in the morning, get this thing finished up. We got one more day, half a day on this thing left. So day one, I took the ABS plastic off. I didn't start till the evening, so one evening for the ABS plastic removal. one evening for the Bondo and the sanding, and it'll be one more like half day for the coating. Okay guys, it is the next morning. I'm going to degrease this whole thing with some Purple Power degreaser, and then just pressure wash it off just to get all the dust off of it. Then we're gonna let it sit in the sun for a few hours and dry out before we start applying the primer to get this thing coated. All right, so this is the roof coating that we're using. It is by this company called Liquid Rubber. This is the primer, as you can see. Now this is for RV roofs, so it's EPDM and TPO primer. Obviously that's not EPDM or TPO. This is Bondo and foam. So I'm just gonna do a little test spot, make sure it doesn't like eat away at the foam. As long as it's good, we'll go ahead and apply it to the whole thing. And as you can see, I also taped off this whole seam because as I'm applying the primer and the coating, it might drip a little bit. I don't want it getting on the RV, so that's why I taped it off. So let's see what the primer does to this surface, and then we'll be ready to put the coating on. All right, so primer is applied to the whole perimeter, and then I only did half of the top because I want to work on this perimeter mainly first. So you could tell that the primer is ready when it's sticky. You can see up there, it's kind of in the thicker spots, it's still white. Once it turns to this more like a lacquer, glossy looking finish, and it's not white any longer, and it's sticky to the touch, then you're ready to put the coating on. So I'm just gonna focus on I put the primer on this edge all the way around. I'm just gonna focus on putting the primer or the coating here first. I'm gonna walk it probably 3 times. I'm gonna do one layer all the way around, come back to where I started, another layer all the way around, at least 3 times to get it on there nice and thick, and then we'll move on to the top. All right, you're gonna wanna make sure that you mix this stuff up really well. All right, so that's one coat all the way around with the paintbrush, just along this edge up to about here, all the way around. Now, one thing I learned last time I used this coating is don't go on too thick. If you go on too thick, you're gonna wait around forever for it to dry before you can do your next coat. It's better if you can see how you can see through it. Better be painted on kind of thin like that. That way, by the time you do one full circle all the way around, you're ready to come back and do the second coat. You're not waiting for it to dry anymore. This is no longer sticky. I can touch it, and it's only been about 15 minutes. So that's perfect. That's what we want. Now we can go ahead and do the second coat. I'm going to attempt to roll it on this coat. All right, so that is 3 coats all the way around right there. The paintbrush texture isn't very nice, and you can see some spots where it's a little bit lighter. So it's definitely gonna need at least 1 more coat, maybe 2. While you're paintbrushing, make sure to cut around these guys at least 3 or 4 times. And now I'm going to roll out. You can see what I've primed. I've primed this half. So I'm gonna roll out that top half. Then I'll start priming this half and just keep the ball rolling. All right, got this half primed now, and just keep going, rolling and rolling. Alrighty, that is 3 coats on top. You can see there is some spots where it's a little bit thinner. You can see it's like super white, and you got the dark patches kind of poking through. That's where it's a bit thinner. So I am gonna do 1 more coat. I have plenty of coating left in there, so I'm gonna do at least 1 more coat on top. But I think you get the gist of it now, guys. That is pretty much a wrap on this. The sides, basically every time I would spread a coat on top while the roller was still wet, I would hit the sides 1 more time. So the sides probably have 5 or 6 coats now. So it's much more uniform in appearance than the top. So that's why I know the top needs at least 1 more coat. But that'll do it, guys. Just go ahead and take your tape off, clean up. If you got any on the ground like me, I suggest putting down a drop cloth, but as long as you don't step in it and you let it dry, it peels up off the ground. So keep that in mind. Same with on your pop-up. If you got anywhere outside the tape lines, you should be able to just peel it off. Watch, like this piece right here. See, it just peels off. But yeah, that is a wrap. As you can see, the more time you spend getting the Bondo laid nice and smooth and sanding it, the better. Like this corner looked really nice before I started, so therefore it looks really nice now that it's done. Whereas a couple spots like right here where I didn't Bondo, you can see it through the coating. So if you care, take your time with the Bondo and sanding step, because it will make a big difference. Now this right here was like strands of like the fiberglass and glue. I should have chopped those off where they were loose before putting the primer on it. I should put some Bondo there, but I didn't. So you can see it poking through. But at the end of the day, guys, this is a 25-year-old pop-up camper. So that is a pretty good improvement on it. All right, I'm gonna stop rambling now. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one. Peace.